Hey, this time we are off to Unit 6 and we are looking at area and perimeter. So first of all, let's talk about perimeter and circumference. Perimeter is the distance outside of a polygon, the distance around it. So I'm the type of person that would say add up all the sides, or the sum of the sides. Or we know this is also the length and this is also the width. So we can take length plus width. Some people like to think of that as 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. However you want to think about it is good with me. Circumference is perimeter, but when something is round. So the circumference of a circle is going to be 2 pi r, where r is the radius of the circle. You can see that this little segment right here is labeled as r, that's our radius. Another option is to have pi d, where d is the diameter. Now, since the diameter goes all the way across the circle instead of just halfway across the circle, 2r is the same thing as d, so that's why we can replace it in. Now let's look at some area formulas. Now, area measures how much square inches, feet, whatever measures it might be on the inside. So we're talking about area on the inside. So for a rectangle, our area is going to be length times width. For a square, I think of it the exact same way as a rectangle. Here, I would take side times side. But another option, since it's side times side, is that's going to be side squared. For a parallelogram, his area is going to be base times height. Notice that the height is always going to make a right angle with the base. The height and the base always make a right angle together. With a triangle, my area is going to be base times height divided by 2. And remember, our height is always going to make a right angle with our base. The height always makes a right angle with the base. A trapezoid looks like a triangle with the top cut off. Trapezoids have 2 parallel bases, and then the height is in between them. That height is going to be perpendicular to both of the bases. So to find our area of a trapezoid, we're going to take base 1 plus base 2, multiply that by the height, and then divide that whole thing by 2. For a circle, the area of the circle is all based off of the radius. So if you're given the diameter, you need to go and find the radius first before you can find the area of a circle. The formula for the area of a circle is going to be pi r squared. Good deal. So let's take a look. So we want to find the perimeter or the circumference and the area of each of the figures below. So first of all, what is that figure? Yeah, all the sides are the same and we have right angles, so that has to be a square. So to find the perimeter, we are going to add up all of those sides. So we know all of these sides are 8. So I'm going to take 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8. You can also take 4 times 8, however you want to work that out. Either way, we're going to end up with 32 feet. Now let's talk about finding that area. So to find the area of a square, we're going to multiply side times side, or length times width. So in this case, we'll be taking 8 feet times 8 feet. 8 times 8 is 64. And then when we take feet by feet, we're going to get feet squared. So that's why with area, it's feet squared, or whatever units squared. Let's look at this next guy. That's a parallelogram. Parallelograms are quadrilaterals where opposite sides are parallel. Parallelogram. There we go. To find the perimeter, we're going to add up all of the sides. Now, be careful. 16 right here is not a side of the parallelogram. We know we have 11 up here and another 11 down here. So we'll have 11 plus 11. We have an 18 over here on this side. And then over on the right side, we have another 18. So when we add all of those up, 11 plus 11 plus 18 plus 18, that gives me a perimeter of 58 meters. Now we'll find the area. So remember, for a parallelogram, area is base times height. And we know that our base and our height have to be perpendicular to each other. So we're looking for a right angle. We have a right angle right here. So that means that this guy right here is my height. So 16 is my height. This guy right here is my base. So 11 is my base. They make a right angle together. So I'll take 11 meters times, and my height was 16 meters. So we'll take 11 times 16 and get 176. Meters times meters is meters squared. So that's why our units are meters squared for area. Now let's look at this next one. Over here, we have 2 parallel sides and then some kind of other not parallel stuff going on, right? That makes this a trapezoid. So to find the perimeter, we're going to add up all of the sides, just the stuff around the outside. Here's that side right there, 16.5 plus. Then we have that top side, 19 plus. Then we have that kind of slanty side of 21 plus. And then we got this piece down at the bottom, 27. So then when we add all of those pieces together, we're going to end up with 83.5. And our units are centimeters. It's a trapezoid, so to find that area, we're going to add the bases together, multiply it by the height, and then divide by 2. So remember, our height always is perpendicular to the bases. So that makes 19 one of the bases, 27 another one of the bases, and 16 is our height. So we'll plug in what we know. One of my bases is 19 plus my other base is 27 times my height is 16. Take all of that and divide it by 2. So then we can pop that into our calculator and we'll end up with 368 centimeters squared. Good deal. Now we're looking at this next guy, and he is a circle. That's easier to read. All right, so for circumference, we have 2 different options. Circumference can either equal to pi r, or circumference can equal pi times the diameter. Now, this 26 is labeling that entire dotted line. So that makes 26 the diameter. So we could pop in 26, pi 26. And now for us, what we'll want to do, keep it in terms of pi. Don't put it into your calculator. Pi times 26 is 26 pi. And that will be in yards. Now, here's another way to think about it. If we look at just a piece that goes from the center out to the side, that's going to be half of our diameter. So we'll take our diameter and divide it by 2. 26 divided by 2 is 13. This is our radius. So to use 2 pi r for our circumference, we would take 2 times pi times 13. Well, 2 times 13 is 26. 26 times pi is 26 pi. And then units are in yards. So it doesn't matter if you use 2 pi r or pi d. Either way, you're going to get the same answer. Now for the area of a circle, area is pi r squared, so we have to use the radius. So we're going to take pi, our radius was 13, and we're going to square him. 13 squared is 169. And then the pi just comes along for the ride. And then that's yards squared. So the area of that circle is 169 pi yards squared. This guy right here is a triangle. And we just want to find the area of him. We don't have to find perimeter anymore. So he's a triangle. And we know that we can find the area of a triangle by taking base times height divided by 2. So remember, our height and our base always make a right angle together. So down here is our base. That piece that's perpendicular to our base, right here is our height. So we'll plug in what we know. Our base is 15 times our height was 22. And then we'll divide that by 2. So when we pop that in our calculator, we'll get 165 meters squared for the area. Now let's look at this next guy. He's a rectangle. To find the area of a rectangle, we'll take base times height, or length times width, however you want to think about it. So remember, our base and our height always have a right angle together. So maybe 4 is my base and 11 is my height. You could switch that. It doesn't matter. Either way, to find the area of this rectangle, we're going to take base times height, 4 times 11. And 4 times 11 is 44. And that'll be kilometers squared, or square kilometers. Okay, let's look at this next one. Here we have another triangle. To find the area of a triangle, that's base times height divided by 2. The base and the height always make a right angle together. So there's our right angle. Coming off of here, that 29 is my base. This 14 is my height. So then we'll plug in what we know. That base was 29 times, and then the height was 14. And then we'll divide that by 2. So then when we pop that into our calculator, we're going to end up with 203. And our units are inches squared, or square inches. Over here, this next guy, he's a parallelogram. To find the area of a parallelogram, we are going to take base times height. Remember that our base and our height always have to make a right angle together. So down here is my base of 13 inches. The other piece of this right angle is my height right there of 7.1. So I'll take 13 times 7.1. And then we'll put that into our calculator, and we will get 92.3, and that's square inches, or inches squared. All right. So this time we have half of a circle. So if we have half of a circle, what we're going to do is put 1/2 out in front of the area of a circle. Pi r squared. Since they're labeling from the center out to the circle, this 16 right here is our radius. So we'll take 1/2 pi, our radius is 16, and then we'll square it. So first of all, 16 squared is 256. So I have 1/2 pi times 256. a little gross. Let's try him again. Whoops. There we go. Half of 256 is going to be 128. So that's going to be 128 pi. Remember, pi just comes along for the ride. Our units were in feet. Squared, or square feet. Can't really see that too. There he is. All right. In this next one, he's a trapezoid. There it goes. So to find the area of a trapezoid, we're going to take both of our bases and add them together, multiply that by the height, and divide that whole thing by 2. So remember, my height is always perpendicular to my 2 bases. So what might help is taking this and turning your head and look at it like that. This guy is actually going to be our height, that 5. 7 is going to be one of our bases. 13 is going to be another base. 9 is not a base or a height, so we don't need him right now. So we'll add together our bases, 7 plus 13. Multiply that by our height of 5. And then divide that whole thing by 2. We'll pop that into our calculator and end up with 50. And then we've got millimeters squared, or square millimeters, however you want to say it. But the squared does not go on the number. It goes on the letters. It goes on the units. So let me move my face there. Okay, so a triangle has an area of 27 square yards. The length of the height is 6. Find the base. So here's what I like to do first. I like to write out what I know. It says that the triangle has an area of 27 square yards. So what's the area of a triangle? Find area of a triangle with base times height divided by 2. They just told me that my area was 27, so A is 27. Says that the height was 6 yards, so H is equal to 6. And we want to solve for the base. So now we'll plug in what we know. We know that A was 27. So 27 will go in for that guy. We don't know what the base is, so I'm going to leave that as B. Then it just told us that our height was 6. And then we're going to divide that by 2. So now we're going to start solving for B. Let's get rid of that 2. To undo dividing, we're going to multiply by 2 on both sides. So we'll end up with 54 equals 6b. Then to get b by itself, we'll divide by 6 on both sides. Divide by 6, divide by 6. B will be equal to 9. So the length of the base is 9 yards. Now we have a trapezoid. It has an area of 60 feet. The length of the base is 6 feet and 9 feet. And then we want to find the length of the height. So it tells us that that's a trapezoid. So the area of a trapezoid is, you're going to add those bases together, multiply it by the height, and then divide that whole thing by 2. They tell me here that the area is 60. And they tell me that the bases are 6 and 9. And we want to find the length of the height. So now we'll plug in what we know into that equation. They just told me that my area is 60. So I will put 60 in for A equals. They said that the bases were 6 and 9, so I'll have 6 plus 9. I don't know what the height is, so I'll leave that as H. And then I'll divide that whole thing by 2. So let's get rid of that 2 on both sides. I'm going to multiply by 2 to get rid of that 2 on the bottom. Two times 60 is 120 equals. These 2's divide away to 1. Now I've got 6 plus 9 in there. I know 6 plus 9 is 15. He's being multiplied by H. So then to get H by itself, we're going to have to divide by 15. So if we take 120 and divide it by 15, our height is going to equal 8. All right. See you guys later.